Welcome to another episode of Mrs. Danielle DeVita. I am Danielle and this is Robyn.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank you, Danielle.
And as you know, Robyn Kenyatta was on our last video and we were talking about a letter that was written in. So today, Robyn is going to share her story. So we're going to relax, sit back and talk. And I just want you to take a listen to her story. If you are a man, this video is for women. So if you can just come on to the next video, I like for all of our women to sit up, listen in. Robyn is going to share a form of her Me Too story. So if you've gone through something like this, now you can take solace in knowing that we have also experienced things like this and we're here to help. So let's go ahead and sit back and for Robyn to share her story.
Absolutely. Thank you, Danielle. I appreciate the opportunity to be here on this platform again. So I just wanted to take the time to let people know about a situation that happened to me. I was, about 6 years ago, I met a professional advisor and he was helping me with my business and put everything together. And I met him, and so he started to help me like with my finances and, you know, putting things together. So just recently, he partnered with someone else. So as he was partnering with somebody else, you know, he decided that, yeah, I was gonna still follow him, you know, even though he was partnering with somebody else. So, and when he partnered with this other person, he would have we knew somebody else who would have certain events. So him and his new partner would sponsor some of the events. So at the, and I would,
Like networking events?
Networking events for your business. So at the event, I would go and other people other people who he worked with as well were also at the networking events. So I met his partner at a couple of these events. So the first time I met his partner, he was, you know, very friendly, you know, kind of like, you know, very, I wouldn't say extra friendly, but very friendly. So, you know, he would come over and give you a handshake and how you doing, you know. I remember the one time I was with my girlfriend and he asked us like, you know, he gave up his seat for us. He's like, you want me to get you a bottle of water? So just very friendly. And I know with my girlfriend, she mentioned like, wow, he's really friendly. But of course, we didn't think anything of it, just really extra friendly guy. So that was like the first or second time I met him. And then I think I met him again at another event. So he'd come over and he would talk to me about about the business, about how they could help me financially with the business and stuff that he wanted to do for his clients, which was fine because I'm a client of them anyway. So, so I think most recently, and maybe like a couple months ago, they had an event at their office. So when they had this event at their office, I was invited again because I'm a client, and I met everybody. I went to the new office. I met everybody who works at the office. You know, there's a family member that works there as well. So I met all of the staff and all, you know, and a whole bunch of other clients. So it was a nice event. That's what they had. So then, okay, fast forward to the most recent event. Okay. So the most recent event is, it was another professional networking event.
And one that they sponsored?
They sponsored. Okay. So it was others that they sponsored. So of course, when they sponsor something, they're like, okay, our clients can come. So we get a ticket and we go. So there were other people there who were clients as well. So at this event, the same guy was there. So he came over to me and he's really extra friendly tonight. Like he comes over, you know, how you doing? I haven't seen you. How are you? You know, so he's warming up to me and he's kind of like putting his hand, like, you know, his hand around me, like he's hugging me, like, you know, at my lower back, and he's like, kind of like in my space, asking me like, let's go have a drink after this is over. I'm like, no, that's totally inappropriate. We're not going. No. Absolutely not. So, so he's talking to me about my business. So we were.
So wait, he puts his hand on you.
Puts his hand on me.
You tell him no.
I tell him no.
So he goes back to a professional speaking.
He starts speaking professionally, and then he's talking like, let's go have a drink after this. Yeah, let's get away from here. We'll go have a drink. We can talk. I'm like, no, it's not gonna happen. I'm not doing that. You know. So and then he's like, okay. So he starts talking professionally again. So he's saying all these things that he wants to do for his clients. So mind you, we're in the middle of the room, and it's a lot of people in there because the whole session had just broken up. So it was very noisy. So he goes, let's step outside and talk. Me thinking it's nothing. I go outside with him. So we're having the conversation. He's talking, professionally again, talking about work. And then as he's talking about work, he casually stands there and he says to me, "Can I kiss you?" And I'm like, absolutely not. Like, I'm saying to myself, where's this coming from? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know you like that for you to even ask me that question. And I'm thinking back, like, okay, now I'm outside with him. This feels really weird. This feels really awkward. Like, I should just,
Just leave.
just leave.
So then what do you do?
So he starts talking again about work. So once he realizes, like, it's not going to happen, he's back to changes the subject again and talking about work. So by this time, I'm kind of like trying to tune him out, not really understanding what's going on, just feeling a little fuzzy in the head, So then he asked me after the work conversation. He asked me again. He's like, "Are we okay?" Yeah, as if to say, is everything okay between us? Like
So he probably sees your face.
He probably sees my face, and that's why he's saying, "Are we okay? Like, are you not? You okay with this?" And I'm like, "I'm not okay, but I want to get out of there." So I'm like, "I'm okay."
And then walk you.
And then and then I go away. So we end up back inside. I think he disperses somewhere. So I go look for the person who invited me, who works with him. So he's busy talking, and I'm like, "I need to talk to you like right now." He goes, "Okay, just give me a few minutes." So I'm waiting for him to
finish up.
And him finish up. So when he finishes up, he comes and I tell him what happens, and he goes, "Wow, I'm really sorry to hear that."
Wow.
But then after, now at this point in time, now I'm crying because I've had a few minutes to actually process what happened, and I'm like, wow, this really happened. Like,
it escalated just so quickly.
It happened so quickly, and then in that moment, I didn't really process what was happening because it was so fast and so quick and so unexpected. But in waiting for him to finish talking,
it just comes out.
It just comes out, and I'm like, oh God, I just felt like
you just want to get up out of
there. I just want to get up out of there. So and then once he saw me that I was upset, he's like, I'm sorry that happened to you. But then he flips the script and he goes, "Well, I'm kind of not surprised, because you are, you're an attractive woman, and and I'm just like, I didn't really need to hear that. That's not what I wanted to hear in this moment.
And that wasn't even the time.
And that wasn't the time. But Danielle, let me backtrack a little bit because there's some other information about this guy which I kind of didn't say. So mind you, throughout the time throughout the time when I met his partner, the one who made the advance at me, he had now mind you, I have meetings with my professional advisor, maybe like every other month to discuss the business and how it's going and things of that nature. Okay. So and we normally schedule like an outing to go out to have like a lunch or something. So in this instance, the other guy calls, the partner calls. He calls me.
The one who made all the advances.
The one who made the advances. That partner calls and says, let's go. I'll come to you. You can't make it. I'll come to your house. I'll bring you whatever you want to eat. You just tell me. And I'm like, okay, that rang alarm bells to me. So when that rang alarm bells to me, I said, yeah, this doesn't sound right. So
wait, just make sure we're backtracking. So this is prior to this, when he's getting to know your business, he offers to bring the business to you.
He offers to bring the business to me.
Okay, and then you're alarmed, and then what?
And I'm alarmed. So I tell my advisor, and he's like, no, that's not really what we do. So I'll take care of that. But all along the way, and I'm backtracking again, so I do apologize, audience, if you're a little lost. But backtracking along the way, my advisor would always jokingly say, I think this guy has a crush on you. He's always talking about you in the office. But, I've never heard it. You know what I mean? I just hear what they say, so I'm just like, oh, whatever. So, they're probably laughing about it in the office. This guy has a crush on me. So it's been some conversation about me, in this respect. I've never heard it. I've only heard it from him in a joking manner. So fast forward, this is what happens, about a month ago.
Okay, so then now we're fast forward. You tell your professional advisor, okay, this is what happened to me. This is what this guy did. He says, well, I'm not surprised. You're an attractive person. And then what happened? What happens next?
After that, I just felt like, like completely humiliated all over again. Like, wow. I mean, like I'm telling somebody who I trust and who I think will have my back, And, you know, and now he's saying, well, you know,
Right.
happens, man, you know.
So what does he do? Does he believe you? Does he put up an investigation? Does he
I
put
think
up a discussion?
I think he believes me, but I think that he's just like, he's like, I'll talk to him. I'll talk to him. So I'm asking him, so I'm calling him. So, okay, so that was a Friday night. And then, so we didn't, you know, I called him, talked to him on the way home. He said he'll talk to him. He's just, he's kind of like, just saying like, you know, it's wrong what he did, but in everybody's mind, it's no big deal. It's just like, okay, he's a guy, he saw an attractive woman, he made a pass at her.
But he did more than make a pass at you, because he first offered to come to your house, which was inappropriate,
right.
which your advisor said so. And then, and of course, because nothing happened before, it seemed harmless at first. But then he touches you, you push him away and tell him no. Then he asks you out for drinks, you tell him no. And then now he talks about kissing you. So it's like progressing.
It's
progressing. And all in one evening.
Absolutely, it's progressing. But when I was talking to my professional advisor about it after the whole thing happened, you know, like I said, he did, you know, say he was sorry that happened to me, but his energy
said otherwise.
Said, well, you know, he's a man, saw an attractive woman. That's kind of like what men do. It was kind of like, you know, it's bad that he did it, but you know,
right.
He can't help himself because he's an attractive
So did
woman.
he say that this happens before? That this is the kind
he
of
said he said he's never heard of him doing anything of this sort before. But I said probably because, you know, a lot of women, and this is why I came on this platform to talk about this. He's never heard of them doing it before, because I said a lot of women probably don't speak up. So this is exactly why I wanted to talk to come on Danielle's platform and talk about this, because you know, we as women have to stand up and speak about this. I cannot imagine that what happened to me he's never done this before. That I don't believe that for a second. I believe that what happened to me has happened to other women by him. It's just that either they just felt uncomfortable, they didn't feel like speaking up, or they just felt, you know, powerless. But you can't feel powerless. You know what I mean?
Right. And you know what? Just based on what you were saying, it's almost, just in my opinion, it feels like you said he's done it before, but it feels almost as if something's wrong with you. Like if you were to think about it, like, okay, well, he was professional. He brings it up, but then he gets back professional. So it's almost like it takes your mind off of what just happened. So you don't really process it. You're like, okay, maybe he had too much to drink. We move on. Okay. And then boom, he brings you right back into a professional.
Absolutely.
It's not like it's consistent.
It's consistent.
So it kind of it takes your mind off of it. So when it does happen, it comes at a strong manner.
Exactly.
Because had you not been fully taken aback with that, the next one could have been even a stronger. It was almost like just a little bit, and then add, and then boom.
He gives you a little bit, and I
doses of it,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I said, and the only reason why I was able to finally process it was when he was out of my sight. And then when he was out of my sight, I was able to just gain my composure and say, oh, now I can really tell what happened. Because as long as he was there, he was going, like you said, he's going back and forth and back and forth. So he's having this conversation of like, you know, flirty, and then he's acting professional. Flirty and then professional. So it's just really important for us as a woman, when these things happen, to be able to speak up. Because if we don't, it'll keep happening. You know, and for me, this was small for something that happened. This happens in environments, and it happens a lot. It happens a lot. And if you don't speak up, these men will continue to think that they can get away with it. And it's inappropriate. It's inappropriate. It's unprofessional. And secondly, this is a married man with a family. So even though it shouldn't matter, you know, because it happens with men who are married and who are not married. But at the same time, you know, you have to wonder, if he's married, he must be looking for some type of relationship outside of his marriage. But you know, neither here nor there.
But it goes towards his reputation or how you view him now.
Absolutely.
So all of that
Absolutely.
is taken. It is it adds to his reputation as a person.
His reputation as a person and his integrity as a man,
Yes.
and as a father and as a husband. So it makes you think about stuff like that. So the reason why I wanted to come on this platform today and talk about this, because I think it's really important. As a woman, we really have to advocate for one another. Like, you know, these are not slaps on the wrist. You know, these things can turn into, you know, sexual harassment can turn into sexual assault.
Right.
And then it can turn into rape. And then, you know, and all of that is just about power. These men have to be told, this is inappropriate, you can't treat me like this. And it has to start when something inappropriate happens the first time. Not the second or the third or the fourth, the first time. When the first time something happens and you know that it's wrong, you have to say something, because otherwise they'll think that they can continue to get away with it. And next thing you know, there's going to be another victim, and it's going to be worse.
Right. And I think that just like with people who are in, you know, relationships of domestic violence, I think a lot of these situations start with comments, certain things that are said before it even turns to something physical.
Absolutely.
So I think people should realize, you know, because a lot of women have probably been in a work environment where people are flirty or extra nice or inappropriate, and as a woman, we're told to kind of rub it off, you know, roll it off your back. It's no big deal, as long as it doesn't fully escalate. But a lot of times these things escalate because they're getting doses of those opportunities to do it, to the point that now they feel comfortable enough to make a full-on interaction. And sometimes people, if the other person maybe gave them the perception that it was okay, or even if the person didn't give them the perception, they feel comfortable enough to then move to the next thing. And so sometimes I feel that some people are going to do that anyway.
Absolutely.
So I think if people are making inappropriate comments, we need to stop it there.
You have to stop it
not let it get further, right? And we don't want people to get comfortable at all in any situation. To be like, well, they let me do this, they let me do that. And not to say these are your fault, but sometimes when we let it roll off our back, they just get the feeling that
it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. She didn't say anything. I'm gonna be okay. And then when that happens, they feel empowered, and they feel like, oh, no one's ever gonna say anything to me, and they'll never get caught. That's why when it happens, you have to say something. So you have to nip it in the bud, because if you don't, they become empowered, and they do it, and they keep doing it, because nobody ever says that it's wrong. Nobody ever says, I'm not going to tolerate this. I don't care what you said. It's wrong. It's wrong. You know, sexual harassment in any form should not be tolerated. I don't care if someone says, "Oh, well, I didn't really mean it," or it should not be tolerated. And I think as women, we have to stand up and we have to say enough is enough. Even if you see it, you have to say something. You have to say something. You have to say something. You know, if you witness it, if you hear it, you have to say something.
You need to say something. And if you are just happen to be a man listening, I think that as a man, when you hear a man saying things inappropriate, you know, one should speak up. And just to go back to and there's two things. One, it doesn't matter if you, this can happen to people who are not considered attractive to the man. A man could do this whether he thought you were attractive or not. Because again, we talked about this being about power and control, and sometimes their mind is in that perversion, that state of perversion. But I'd like to say, this is one of those times where we think that, okay, as a man, whether that person's married or not, if you see or hear them saying something inappropriate, you should speak up. Like, for example, you said your professional advisor knew that this man was married. Why was it okay for him to joke that this guy has a crush on you? Exactly. Even if it never escalated, it almost was like he co-signed this behavior from a married man. It was inappropriate from there.
From there, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And then it was inappropriate when he talked about going to your home, and the guy found out about it. And so at some point, things should have been nipped in the bud from the get-go to say, hey, if we're going to be partners, I need you to have integrity, not just as in business, but as a person, out of respect for my clients, out of respect for this business. And so as men, as women, we need to speak up when we hear something, even if it's not personally affecting us, because it can affect you at some
Absolutely.
point in time.
And you know what I think it is, Danielle? I think it's the culture of society as to how it is. I think it's the culture, and everybody is just
to
used
normalize these things.
It's normalized. It's like, oh, he's a man. He found a woman attractive, so he wanted to talk to her. And and a man looking outside of his marriage, at another woman, it's kind of normal now.
Right. Well, this
normal.
Is a professional environment.
It's a professional environment.
This should give you no indication.
Absolutely.
Of this at
Absolutely.
all. You're there for networking.
Absolutely.
Not for dating.
Absolutely.
Especially the fact that he is you're a client of his.
I'm a client of the company.
So there's a complete conflict of interest. To not. That's just like a doctor making an advance at his client. In no circumstances I feel like it's appropriate. It's like an attorney making an advance at his client.
Absolutely.
It becomes inappropriate because now we've tarnished the professional relationship that we've had.
Absolutely.
Because of advances that you knew I did not want.
Absolutely. I never asked for that. And
you said no.
And let me just be clear. Let me just be really crystal clear, just in case anybody has any questions. I never ever had a personal relationship with this person. So meaning, like, I never went to lunch with them. I never spoke to them on the phone personally. I never broke bread with them. Never did anything inappropriate. It was always in passing.
Professional.
Hi, how you doing? What's going on? But that's it. Everything professional. But I just want to be crystal clear with that. But even so, it doesn't give anyone the right to harass you in a way that they see fit. Sexual harassment should not be tolerated in any form. And I think as a woman and as a man, anybody who witnesses, whatever sex you happen to be, you have to speak up. You really have to speak up because so many people are affected by this. This probably happens to millions of women and they just stay silent. They just stay silent. Who knows if he did this to somebody else and they just said, I'm just not going to deal with him anymore. And they never said anything.
Right.
And they never said anything. It cannot be tolerated because if you nip it in the bud, people will really start to take it seriously. They don't take it seriously because they're like, oh, well, it happens all the time. It's just something that, this should not be commonplace. It should not be commonplace, but I feel like it is because of some of the responses that I received when I shared what happened. Some people are just like, oh, wow, really? And then they're on to the next thing. It's like,
right.
Wow, it's more than that. It's really more than that.
It's more than that because you make the person is now uncomfortable, right? You make the person uncomfortable. So so it doesn't really matter if people say, "Oh, this happens all the time." It still makes this person uncomfortable. So you don't need to be saying it.
It's uncomfortable,
and it's just inappropriate. Even if the person did let it roll off the back, it's inappropriate.
It's inappropriate.
It's inappropriate.
But do you know, like in a business setting, how many people this affects? Like it affects, the business operation, the clients of the clients, the partners. Like it's a big deal. It's really a big deal. And I think, if you look at it like that, and you can't look at it like, oh, it's just me, it's just one person. It's not just one person, because if he gets away with it with one person, he'll continue to have an attitude of entitlement and power. And sexual assault, sexual harassment, rape, it's all about power. It has nothing to do with what a woman looks like, how beautiful she is. It has nothing to do with that. It's about who they think they can dominate and control. And I think when we really understand what it's about, that's when you have a better understanding of it. Oh, well, she's not really pretty. Nobody. Well, it has nothing to do with that.
Right.
It has nothing to do with that. And I think I just want your audience to understand that it's very important, man or woman, when you see something, speak up, say something, because otherwise it leads to the person doing it feeling a sense of power and entitlement. And if you don't say something, it can progress. It can get worse.
Right.
So.
And I'm glad you said something to them, because if it happens to another client, they can't say they never heard about it.
Absolutely.
Now it becomes a pattern. Like,
absolutely.
Okay, this is not just this one person, which I think they should take action, which is one person.
Absolutely.
But because you spoke up, now they would know, okay, now we see that there's a pattern here. This, you're just going to have to go. We're going to have to sever this partnership.
Absolutely.
So did it escalate once you told him? Did it escalate to something bigger?
Well, it escalated into it escalated into an investigation.
Okay.
By his the company who
the head company
who regulates him.
Okay.
So it escalated, and so there has not been an outcome as to the investigation. So we shall see how that's going to play out.
Okay.
We shall see.
So an investigation happened. What happened in that process for the investigation?
So with the investigative process, they call and ask me what happened. So of course I have to explain step by step, and I guess, they'll investigate probably and ask him too. So I did explain what happened. And then I remember the investigator saying to me, he asked you, as though she's asking me a question, like he asked me, so I guess it's okay, or it's kind of polite. And I'm just like, now maybe because she didn't have the answers, but I'm just like, wow, you really just, you really just stated
But
that?
I don't think that it's appropriate to say that he asked, because you've already showed your consent to not deal with him in a personal manner.
Right.
When he put his hands on you, you pushed back.
Absolutely.
And were like, no.
Absolutely.
So all those incidents after that should not be okay to ask. You've already gotten your answer. Now it's kind of borderline moving on to harassment. Keep asking about something, and
I mean, and I showed her a pattern of what happened. So him asking, and I don't know if she, how, when she said that to me, I'm like, so basically, and she's like, oh no, I'm just asking you, like, he did ask you that. Yeah, he did ask me that.
But
you know what I mean?
It's almost like what you said earlier about even as women become desensitized to it. And so we don't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah, we don't see anything wrong with it. It's like,
we think it's normal.
We think it's normal. It's just like, and as women, this is what women think. He's a man, he saw an attractive woman, he asked her, it's just like, wow. Like, it's not even a problem anymore in this
But
society.
it's not even a man that saw an attractive woman. It's you're a client, and now you're professional.
That's how it should be seen, but it's not being seen like that. Because I was told that, I was told by my professional advisor, oh, I don't get in the middle of grown folk stuff and what they do. I'm like, this is not grown folk stuff. This is a man.
This is me as a client.
This is me as a client.
Your partner is making unwelcoming advances, and he's clear that it's unwelcome.
Absolutely. This is not what grown people do.
Yeah.
This is not, I'm like, so it's really, I mean, when you think about it, how people defend each other when it comes to stuff like this is just amazing to me. Like, it's absolutely, I just was floored how, everybody is defending this behavior. But you're absolutely correct, Danielle. We become so desensitized to it that it's kind of normal now. Now it's normal. Now it's just like, oh, okay, well, he did, and then, and then next,
right.
I
mean, and then I'm just surprised because this is his business too. You wouldn't want your partner making advances at your client, right? And then
exactly.
Even if they did like each other, right?
Exactly.
Even if a client and a partner did like each other, that's not good for business.
It's not good for business. It's not good for business. It's not good for business. And that's what I said. I'm like, I don't know how you can expect to have a successful business with somebody who's looking at them. How do you expect to do that?
What if things go sour?
Exactly.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. But of course, this is not the case here.
No.
Right. This is not the case. This was an unwelcomed event.
Unwelcome.
You wanted a professional relationship.
Exactly.
And he crossed the line way too many times that night, and it had nothing to do with too much to drink.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Right. Well, I'm glad that you shared your story, because a lot of people think that things have to elevate in order for them to say, oh, I had a Me Too event. Things have to get to the point where now they're in the news. Like, no, you can have people making unwelcoming advances, people continuing to, follow you around, people, all of these things that are unwelcoming. And you have said no, you have said you're not interested, and they continue on. This is inappropriate behavior. And so I'll have a number here for you to call a national hotline in case you do need to speak to someone about your incident. Also, I have the information for Robyn Kenyatta. So if you'd like to talk to her, reach out to her. Of course, she speaks about a lot more about mindset, self-love, so many things. So you would definitely be able to speak to her. She is a coach. So she can help you in a lot of these things, because sometimes as women, we have a lot of trauma from some of these events that's happened, even if they're significant events that have occurred, or events that you see that it still created some type of traumatic event that make you distrusting to others. And we want to help you with that.
We sure do. We absolutely do.
Yes. So again, you can call the National Hotline, and again, you can speak to either one of us about some of these traumatic events, because we don't want these to control your life.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes these events can shape your view of others, and we don't want that person to control now how you move based on their wrongdoing.
Absolutely. And I would love to hear from anybody who wants to have a conversation about it. I'm here to support any woman who's been through something like this or similar.
Right. And again, it's not your fault.
Absolutely.
We're not telling you that you are a victim, because a lot of people say that we have prey and victims in a row. No, you are a warrior, and we want to help you prepare yourself how to follow your intuition when some of these things are coming your way, to how to prevent from being some of these things. Because if you listen to a story I did in the past about intuition, because I didn't follow it, it did put me in a predicament very much like this. And so I want you guys to empower yourself to now be armed with the tools that's necessary to get through this event if you've already been through it, or to prevent it from happening.
Absolutely. And Danielle, you're so correct with that point about following your intuition. If it doesn't feel right, follow your gut. Follow your gut, ladies. If it does not feel right, follow your gut. Your gut will never steer you wrong. Never steer you wrong. Never.
Yes. All right. So thank you so much for tuning in. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.